And hello. My name is Felix. If you guys don't know, here to answer your questions about your ledger devices, any questions you might have about tokens, things like that. I always like to mention if you guys are ever asked to input your recovery phrase anywhere that isn't the device, directly and physically, it's probably going to be a scam. So please don't give out your recovery phrase. And don't sign any transactions you don't trust. These things are going to be maybe things like phishing websites and things like that might be purporting to be one thing, but are another. So with that, let's get started. Normally, if you have any questions, just pop them into the chat, and we'll try to get to answering them all today. First up, we had Melonda just asking about the time. I don't know if that's Central Standard or what that might be, but hopefully you're on now. Crimson, you got a question here, is when can we see SPL tokens? So SPL tokens wouldn't be something that is supported within Ledger Live just yet. So you've mentioned on Ledger in your question, right? So not within Ledger Live, but I think if I actually go to here, I'm actually looking up some of your questions ahead of time. If we are gonna, with regards to SPL tokens, there's definitely something you can use with a third-party wallet, right? So something like Phantom, something like Soulflare was the other one I was thinking about, to actually integrate, to actually use those, send them, receive them, whatever it might be. You wouldn't actually even need the third-party wallet to receive them, but obviously you wouldn't be able to see them or anything like that. So that's what I'd suggest as a workaround for now. If you aren't doing that already, I think the other thing would be to make sure to not input your recovery phrase when you're adding your accounts into these wallets, because that way you defeat the purpose of using a ledger device, right? So about that, just have a look through and see if that's something. If you get any trouble, you can always contact us, support.ledger.com, I think I always say. And then right behind me, just here, there's going to be a button that you can use to get a hold of us, right? As opposed to when, again, I don't really have a specific time frame, but at least in this case, you can use something like Phantom, for example. You can use, mic is kind of low. I hear you there, Rob, so I'll pop that up for you. There we go. But in terms of what else you can use, Soulflare was the other one that I would be thinking of as well. So have a look through those if you want. Let's push that output up. Rob, let me know if that's a little better for you. I don't want to, what's the word? I don't want to deafen everyone or anything like that. So just let me know how you go with that. So next up we had Melonda. Okay, so we've got this question here about HBAR. I just created a HBAR account with your Ledger device. Okay, you attempted to transfer from Uphold to your new account. Now, I think I see the Crimson's question as well as Melanda's question about where the assets are as well. I might go through this a bit too often, but the one thing I always mention is that the assets aren't on the device. It's only the recovery phrase on the device, and your assets are on chain. But in general, that might be something that you're aware of. I actually am on this page because there is a great article about this in our academy for where your assets are in particular. I normally refer to this article. I have people refer to this article, and I know a lot of my colleagues do as well, about this particular nuance of how assets work. In any case, I'm going to ramble on too much if I do that, but you've created a new account, the HBAR account, and you're going to transfer. Those assets from Uphold to your address. So I'm assuming maybe you used Hashpack, something like that. However, you get a message. I won't say an error message because I know this one. Hedera address cannot be confirmed on the Ledger device. You set your own risk. So you used to address, I'm assuming you mean the address, to move the funds from uphold and receive the crypto, and you receive the crypto address appears to be incorrectly formatted. There's a couple of things there. I think the first thing I might do is actually like to check the address that you're getting, right? But, if you're going to be doing this, I wouldn't want to be doing this with you over live stream. I'd have you get a hold of us, and then that way you can let us know what the address is. We can actually check that on chain. So let me get up. I'll go through what I might do in particular. So if I was going to check, I'd first want to check that the addresses do come up on a block explorer, something like HashScan, right? You can add an address in and you can check exactly, okay, what is, does that address appear? Is everything all good there? And then the next step, and then actually with regards to that first portion that you mentioned with regards to, let me close this off here. You mentioned their address cannot be confirmed on the ledger device. I think that's one thing that can be quite confusing. It's just to mention that the way that the addresses are derived are not directly derived from the public-private key pair that you might get on the device. They can be associated with one, but not they're not derived from it. So I think that's part of what it's trying to tell you there. So definitely something you can continue on. But with regards to the error message you're getting about the formatting for the address, I'd normally just double check the address, maybe give us a shout out and let us know like what you're seeing there, and we can actually try and guide you through. So support.ledger.com. I wouldn't be 100% sure without too much more information. So yeah, guys, next up we had Ayub El-Greeny. You've got a question here. Hello, how can I send Zilliqa from an exchange to a Ledger NOS? So bearing in mind, of course, that it's not on the device, you would just go through the normal withdrawal process for that exchange and on the Ledger Nano device. The only other thing, and this is what I was actually double checking as well, is that you would need to get the address that you'd want to send to, not within Ledger Live, but with a third-party wallet, something like Zilliqa Web Wallet. Now, that's because you wouldn't be using that within Ledger Live. It's not supported within Ledger Live in particular, but you would still be wanting to install the application. I always think about the application as like a way to, for the Ledger device to kind of understand what blockchain it's interacting with, what are the parameters it needs to have. So like, what's the chain ID? What's what kind of cryptography is it using to like how do the transactions look? Things like that, for example, to try and understand like how to interact with the blockchain. What transactions am I signing? So just a bit of a way to think about those applications. So you install that application, then you'll be able to use that third-party Zilliqa Web Wallet to be able to get the address and know what address to send it to. And you mentioned you would also like to know if it's possible to purchase the Ledger NanoS Plus. So it's definitely possible. But you've mentioned without upgrading the Ledger NanoS, or what do you recommend instead? So Ledger NanoS Plus, definitely something I use a lot personally. I love that the screen is much bigger than the original S. I definitely recommend it myself, although you've got these other potential devices. This one is not out yet. Now, with regards to what you might mean by upgrading the Ledger NanoS, do you mean, well, I'm trying to imagine maybe you mean that, I don't know, that you need to not use the device anymore. That's definitely not true. You can continue to use your old device. If you're trying to, like, basically how I might imagine you would do it, you've purchased this new device, for example, add to cart, you go through and then you add it from there. What might you do? You go check out everything like that. What might you do? You would actually input the recovery phrase into the device. You would actually potentially restore the device, the new device, I mean, with the existing recovery phrase that you have. When you do that, and then once you've added those applications in, like I've mentioned, so you installed the applications, I'm actually going through all of the articles because the colleagues definitely go through and write a lot of these. So There's a lot of information here that you guys can go through and read up on. Once you've installed the applications, then you'll be able to actually use your device, the accounts even, and manage the assets at the accounts, as long as the recovery phrase is the same, as you would have been before. And you probably won't even need to, re-add the accounts or anything like that in 99% of cases. So this is what what I generally expect you to do. There shouldn't be any upgrading needed of Ledger Nano S or anything like that. You can still use it as well. You can even use it with an old recovery phrase. Same recovery phrase as a backup too. So a bunch of options there for you. All right. Next up was Big D. Should I move my XDC from my ledger since it uses third-party MetaMask? That would be up to you. If you're using your Ledger device with MetaMask as well, it's not a change in how your device and how the ledger itself secures your assets. What's happening essentially is that you're using the device to sign transactions, and MetaMask is the wallet that's asking the device to sign transactions, as opposed to Ledger Live, for example, if you're going to use Ledger Live as a wallet to use. So there's no change in the security model there. And is it under investigation from the SEC? That I have no idea about. I've heard of legal matters, but I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so it definitely wouldn't be something you'd want to ask me about whatsoever. So wouldn't be able to help you there. Next up, what have we got here? Bobby Welsh. Now you've got a question. Let me pop back over to the support page. Thanks again, Rob, for the heads up about the mic. Bobby, you've asked, why is there a $500 delivery fee on the credit card? Definitely shouldn't be any delivery fee anywhere close to that. I mean, definitely be something you'd want to get a hold of us for, and we can, have a look on our billing system if there's any like weird charge or anything like that. Something we can check for sure. But I've never seen that in my anecdotal experience. Not to say that's not happening there, but we definitely want to have a look at that. So yeah, get a hold of us, support.ledger.com. And then that bottom right-hand side, there is a contact us button that you can use here as well. I actually don't know if I've opened it on stream before. Next up, Erdy20. Is the genuine check absolutely safe? I would consider it absolutely safe. It's just based on, checksums and maths and things like that. Is there a specific thing that you're hoping to check for? Like, what are you worried about? Normally, that's the kind of thing I would probably be thinking about asking, as opposed to this question, to better understand what is it that you might be concerned by, right? Are you concerned by is someone coming and taking the device and then like trying to get in, or is it more like actually it wouldn't be that, it might be I don't know, some rogue firmware or something like that, which wouldn't even generally be possible. Why would that be? Because you'd have a warning about applications that wouldn't be audited by Ledger or Ledger Donjon, in fact. So there are a lot of things at play here, but I would consider it absolutely safe. Yeah, for sure. James Obleton, you've got a question about how to move stablecoins. The way you move stablecoins is the same as you'd be sending any other asset. Now, the main thing though, because you've mentioned stablecoins, is that you need to first consider what network your stablecoin is on, and then, as a consequence, what currency you're going to need to use to pay for transaction fees, right? So let's say I have my assets on an Ethereum mainnet address and I have USDC. I would need to then have Ethereum at that same Ethereum mainnet address to be able to pay for transaction fees. It's going to be BNB for Binance Smart Chain. It's going to be I'm trying to Tron. You might need to burn some Tron. If it's USDT, you've got, and then there's a bunch of L2s that might use Ethereum as well. So it is a matter of which network you might be using too. So that's something to consider. And then, yeah, you just need to know which address you want to send it to, if it's an exchange, if it's supported, and on which network you're sending it on, and you should be all right from there. You'll just need to sign the transaction on the device, as you can see here, and then you can go on from there. Next up, we have Adrian. Hi. It's not easy to remove fails airdrop in Ledger Live. How many lines for nothing in my history? I'm not sure what you mean by fails airdrop at all. Not sure if you're referring to, like, I don't know, any scam NFTs or anything like that. I definitely know that's something that, you're aware of. You can easily hide NFTs within the gallery section, but, it being in the transaction section is a different source. So it is something we know about and we're trying to get rid of as well. But again, the kind of steps with regards to the scam NFTs would be the same. Malicious, I think it is listed under our help center. It'd just be not to interact with them, hide them, and go from there. That should be all you need to do. Just to not interact them and you interact with them, and you'll be safe from there. Wouldn't want to do anything else with them, not send them, not burn them, nothing like that. Next up was Melonda. Probably a follow-up question about XDC. I also need to move XDC from Uphold to my ledger, so to your ledger managed address or XDC address that's derived from the recovery phrase. That's on the ledger device. I always like to be a little more specific there. I'm going to choose this one. So you've got, but I cannot locate XDC as account to add to ledger. What am I missing? You wouldn't be using XDC. You wouldn't be using, rather, Ledger Live to manage XDC at all. You would be using something like MetaMask as an example to be able to manage that too. What I might do there, Melinda, is actually send you that link. You can have a look through that, go through and try to add your account. I think one thing that I'll mention as well is that it's to remember that XDC, normally uses a prefix of XDC for their addresses, whereas normal EVM accounts use a 0x. So if you're looking for a specific address, just look for the address and just remove, in your mind, when you're looking for the address, replace the 0x with XDC, and you'll look for the same, you'll be able to find the same address, generally speaking, that you might be expecting. That would be one thing to go through there. You would be using the Ethereum app as well. And then that way, you'll be able to manage the XDC going forward. And that should be about all for that one, Melinda. But yeah, to have a look through that document and or that link and see how you go with that one. Yaharu, you've mentioned that you've ordered a Ledger Nano S Plus and you found out that in France, the bank is on holiday on some dates this May. So can Ledger send out the items that I ordered this May? I wouldn't expect it to be like delayed for the whole of May or anything like that. There was one public holiday yesterday, and there are a couple of public holidays next week. But it's not going to. Doesn't mean that we're on holidays for the whole month of May. So you're still going to get the Ledger devices. They're going to be sent to you still. So I wouldn't worry about that whatsoever. Rakesh B, can you suggest your dev team to integrate at least average buy for every coin in a wallet? So if I understand correctly, you're talking about what the average entry price or your cost basis for every asset. Now, I think the way to integrate that might be quite interesting, but we wouldn't necessarily always have information about what price you purchased it at or anything like that. But I'll definitely pass that on as feedback for you. I'm just thinking, if we think out loud here, if I'm going to integrate this, then I'm going to need to know, your cost, your actual purchase price for every purchase that you make, for example, and that's not necessarily something we have, right? So if I imagine, I'm just writing it down, but if I imagine, let's say I actually sent my assets from an exchange, let's say like a Binance or a Coinbase, from the exchange to my ledger device, we wouldn't know what that cost basis would be at all. So there's a couple of interesting things to consider there. But yeah, I'll definitely write that down, and we'll get that suggestion sent off at least. Erdi also has a question. If you think it is safe to shop on a ledger on Amazon, and it is indeed safe. Actually goes back to the genuine check question that you mentioned. So if you, that would be the thing that you would, go through, and you'd be like, hey, because, you downloaded Ledger Live from the correct source, and because you're able to check the device with the correct version of Ledger Live, you're able to verify that it is indeed a genuine device. So yeah, that's exactly, that's perfectly safe rather. Next up, we had Transporter. When will the stacks be out? I don't have a when, unfortunately, like a specific date or anything like that. If you pre-ordered the device, definitely keep an eye out on your email as well. Don't have too much more information for you other than that. Daily Dose of Craziness, you got a question about, hey, what if I send USDT to my ETH address? That's totally normal. Does it still arrive as USDT? It does. The reason I was thinking about a very specific scenario with an exchange, but in this case, yeah, you would just receive it the same as you would any other token. So Ethereum, USDT, could be Link, it could be Matic that's on Ethereum mainnet, for example. Everything should arrive at your address if you're just sending it as per normal. If an exchange is sending it, it might be something to ask the exchange, but generally it should arrive as that specific token that you're receiving it. There's no reason. I notice sometimes that users will have a single address for USDT, a single address for USDC, one address for their ETH, one address for so on and so forth. And while a segregation of these kinds of assets could have some kind of value, I don't really see the benefit personally, because you are then required to send your ETH from one address to another. I mean, at this stage anyway, without things like account abstraction and things like that, and to be able to pay for transaction fees in the most general of cases, right? So, not something I generally expect to be beneficial, in my opinion, but some people prefer it. So send it to the same address, every token to the same address, and you should be okay from there. One other thing maybe, I don't know, people might do is do it for privacy as well. Thank you, Rakesh B, for the question. You've also asked, staking ETH with Stader in Ledger Live. Is it safe? Does Ledger support it? It's definitely supported because it is actually, staking ETH. I can always double check. We can always just jump into our instance of Ledger Live, and of course, you can see disconnect my device, but we don't need it for now. You can go here, we can check Stader. So that's in the Discover section of Ledger Live, and you can see Ethereum staking. So with staking with third parties, I would consider staking with Stader quote unquote safe. Of course, everyone has their own risk tolerance and everything like that. So you've got to be able to do your own research about what risks are acceptable to you, right? But with regards to whether Ledger's, the Ledger device is supported, it definitely does. Like you see it here, you'll be able to sign the transactions as you normally would with your Ledger device as you would. I just need to add my account here and go on from there, but I haven't done that for this new instance of Ledger Live. Have a look at that if you want. Should be pretty easy to run through. If I actually go back over to our help center, I can actually send you, if you would like, I'm pretty sure there is an article about how to stake ETH with Stader within Ledger Live as well. So you can have a look through that. You can see exactly what you see there, and you'll see that you can stake a certain amount there as well. All right, let's keep going. Next up, we had James. You've got a question about how easy it is to swap stablecoin from another token. It's as easy as understanding which assets you want to swap. Right now, if I go back to my instance of Ledger Live, there is a swap option here that you can use, and that has a number of options, especially if you're going to swap cross-chain. What I mean by cross-chain is, let's say if I go to the market, let's say I'm swapping from something like USDT to, which is on Ethereum mainnet. Let's keep it like that. So because, actually, let's say I'm swapping from Bitcoin to USDT, since you mentioned it that way. That is a swap that happens across chains. Bitcoin is its own chain. USDT is generally on EVM chains. I might recommend having a look at what is in the swap section of Ledger Live. You can see what the prices would be of the swap, the rate more particularly, the fee price as well, and everything like that, and you can make the swap from there. If you're making a swap between chains, there is another option. If you feel that you're more advanced, you can try something like door swap, which isn't something you can do within Ledger Live, but could be something to consider if you're feeling that you now, maybe you've done it a couple of times, you understand the risk, maybe you're doing some experimentation with small amounts of funds. Could be something to try as well. I didn't know that they had door swap. Oh, I don't know. I've got to double check that. I'm going to check that now myself, actually. Must have totally missed that. Anyway, you can definitely use it outside of Ledger Live as well. You just have to connect your wallet. That's why I normally mention it as a little more complex. However, you can also use a DEX to swap between EVM chains or on the same chain as well. So if you go back to Ledger Live, and if I go to the Discover section, there are things like Paraswap. There are things like 1inch, which is right up there. I could just 1inch as well, which you can use to swap your assets on the same chain. And if you're swapping between chains, Squid is also a potentially good option there that I would definitely advise to potentially try and check out as well. So hopefully there's a lot of options. I know it's a lot of information. Hopefully helps you through that there. Just make sure to look through, check the prices, see what might be best for you, and have a look at the companies as well. Because, I'm sure, as someone that's in crypto, you might be doing a lot of research, and you can do your research here as well. Thank you, Daily Dose of Craziness, as well, for the question. Always love answering them. Guys, if you have any questions about anything with Ledger devices, Ledger Live, anything like that, please just pop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them live on stream. Otherwise, I might just ramble on, or we can always cut it a bit early, give you guys a bit of time back as well. Next up was Tech. You've just asked XLM for USDC and Algo cheapest for FSST. I'm not sure what FSST would be in particular. Certainly they could be cheap. I would imagine it would also depend on the amount of liquidity that you might need. You might need 10K liquidity, 100K, 100 million. Who knows? I wonder how much. I wouldn't know how much would be on XLM, to be honest. It would be interesting to find out. Daily Dose Craziness. What if my country wants info about me? Can they contact Ledger and get my get my stuff, or am I safe? So I think the first thing there is we don't have any information about you that a country could ask for that could compromise your assets. That's just something that we don't have. No, you don't need to worry about swearing. It would just be me. But yeah, the thing is, when you, let me go back over to the support center, because when you set up the device initially, you would be as a new device. Let's say it's a Ledger Nano S. It's a doesn't matter what it is. It's the process is generally the same. You're going to get the recovery phrase from the device, and you're the only one that knows the recovery phrase. So that's how you would go through the process and get that, and you'd be the only one that knows it. So we wouldn't even be able to give it to you, even if whatever country asked for it. It wouldn't really matter. So that would be the only thing that they could ask for, but because you're the only one that knows the recovery phrase, we wouldn't even be able to give it. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I'm just gonna, there we go. All right. I'm going to answer that question, Remy, but I'm going to just put you there in timeout because no need to spam because, I understand, but there's no reason to spam at all. Now, where was I? Yeah, daily dose of craziness, no reason why we could ever give your funds or give the recovery phrase for your funds away at all. So that's all I can do from there. That's not all I can do, but that's all that can be said, right? Like we can't even give something we don't have. So cool. Thanks again for the question. Remy, I understand that if you pre-order the device, I would keep an eye on your email, and that would be as best I could give you information for you. I don't have a specific time frame. If you want, I'm always going to pass on your feedback, which I understand was very candid, so that's fine. I'm going to pass on that feedback for sure. But I do understand the frustration, so keep an ear out. And yeah, I'm feeling a little hurt that you think it's useless for the live. I'm trying to answer the question, so hopefully I can answer yours as well in the future. Let's keep going though. James, you've got, how hard is it to add my ledger to MetaMask and Nami wallets? Very easy, actually. I had it up before. Did you? I'll just send you the link as well for that one. There we go. James. So this is for MetaMask in particular. Normally I'd use this with Chrome. It looks like there's a lot of steps. But once you go through and look through the steps, it should be relatively easy. Nami is also pretty simple, actually. I'll just send that to you too. And you can go through those about how to connect those wallets. So definitely have a look at those about how to connect. Now, remember, you're not inputting the recovery phrase whatsoever. You're going to be connecting your device and then adding the account and going from there. So hopefully that helps. Alex, yes, sorry, totally missed you. That's at least just on this stream, so do apologize. You ask, my ledger screen is dim. What can I do? It would sound like a hardware issue in that case. You would want to replace the device. That's generally how it will go. If you want to look at whether it's still with warranty, get a hold of us, support.ledger.com, and then you can get the order ID, and we can have a look at that for you and potentially try and replace it if it's within warranty even. So definitely try and have a look there. Yeah, that's kind of how I would go about it as a customer as well. Daily dose craziness. Okay. New question here. You've got to ask, if I receive funds to 5 different addresses, Bitcoin, for example. Okay, so to 5 different UTXOs, do I have to pay fees 5 times if I send total amount, or is it only one fee? That's a really interesting question. Now, you've already got, let's say you've already got the, it's not a good one there. Anyway, you've got 5 UTXOs, so 5 addresses with Bitcoin in them. If you're going to send all 5 of them at once, you're going to need to use all 5 of those UTXOs as inputs, and let's say one output as the address where you send it to. You would pay the fee once in this case, but because you're sending them, it's all one transaction. But what would happen there is that, excuse me, what would happen there is because your transaction fee changes based on the size of the transaction fee is going to be higher than if it was one input, one output. UTXOs can be a bit hard to track sometimes, but basically, yeah, you can have a Bitcoin transaction can have inputs and outputs. 5 inputs, let's say 4 outputs as an example. It's totally possible. You're going to pay the transaction fee based on the weight of the transaction. That's kind of the really high level overview. So you're going to pay one fee, but it's going to be higher than if you're paying one at a time. Normally, I'd say though the reason that what was I going to say? If you wanted to then, I don't know, have all the transactions in all the UTXOs in one address, you can actually send them all to the same address. And then what that would do means in the future, if you're going to send Bitcoin, it would be sent from just that address as an input and then to another address as an output. Right? Might minimize some fees if you try and do the calculations there. Now, would I do that? It really depends. You got to check like, okay, how much are transaction fees now? What do I think they will be in the future? How much am I going to save? It's a very broad question. I mean, if you're talking about sending them 5 different times, you would pay to the transaction fee 5 different times though. But I hope that's not I don't think that's what you're asking, but I just wanted to cover that base just in case. Thanks again, James Obleton. Hopefully I can just call you James. Melinda, you've asked, when I select destination on Uphold for XDC, there's nothing coming up in search. XDC network comes up, but in Ledger it uses ETH again. What am I missing? I'm not really sure what you might mean by it, but in Ledger it uses ETH again. You see, when you say you're selecting a destination Uphold for your XDC, there is nothing coming up in the search. XDC network comes up. That's great. Okay. So if you're going to send on the XDC network, you're going to have to put in an address. And because Ledger would use, maybe you mean a 0x address. Maybe that's what you mean. Yeah, if it's showing a 0x address, it was what I was saying before about replacing the 0x with an XDC for the same address, because XDC, Zinfin uses XDC as the prefix and EVM Chains uses 0x. So you just replace that, and that should allow you to select the right address. I hope that's, if that's what you mean, that'll definitely fix your issue, but I might need a little more clarification there, Melinda, if it's not exactly what you mean. Or again, get a hold of us and then we can actually go through in more detail. You know, provide screenshots so we can have a look at exactly what you're seeing and try to help you out with that. It is a bit harder as well because Uphold isn't something we support, but with screenshots we should be able to just go through it in general. Next up, Hedrax, you've asked, can you buy Terra Luna Classic in Ledger Live? I haven't heard that name in a hot minute. I don't think so. It would generally be down to the service providers to provide that. And I don't think that is one that's currently, I'm only in the portfolio or the market page, but I don't think that's one that's supported. You can definitely have a double check on the buy page if you'd like. Next up, Azaz. Again, guys, if you have any questions, oh, sorry, I had on the previous support page, but if you guys had any other questions, just pop in the chat. We'll get to answering them with just about 20 minutes left for this stream. Azaz, you've asked, is there any way to stop NFTs from being dropped into your account and /ledger? So not on your ledger. The assets are not on your ledger, if you're not already aware. Always on Polygon, that's true. I never open them, but I don't like them even being there. There is no way to stop an NFT or anyone sending any token to your address. Now, the reason for that would be that your address is pseudonymous, but it's also public on chain. Being that the addresses are public on chain, anyone can send you anything. They will pay for the transaction fees, and that is why you see it on Polygon, because Polygon transaction fees are quite cheap. But there's no way to stop someone from sending you assets at all. Otherwise, that would be some kind of, I don't know, permissioned message board or something like that, which isn't really what these chains are generally meant to be. Now, being that you never open them, that's perfect. That's exactly what we generally suggest. A lot of the times you shouldn't even see the NFTs. We're trying to add a feature to try and hide these NFTs. It's like a spam filter, in the same way an email inbox would have a spam filter. Obviously, it may not always be correct, or it may not be very, being a very new feature, it might not be hitting everything right now. You can still always hide those NFTs as you would normally. It would hide it in the gallery, but it may not hide it in the transaction field. But because these are just transactions that people are sending to you, you're not paying for the transaction fees at all. And they're not affecting you because, remember, you're not supposed to be grabbing your addresses directly from the receive or anything like that. Directly from the transaction history, rather. You should be going through the receive process to get your addresses. So just something to consider. I understand them not liking it being there, not liking them being there, but they're not affecting your model at all. Although I do understand, and it is something that I know the devs are trying to fix for you. So I totally understand that feeling. All right, I'm actually run out of questions. I don't know if you guys had any more throughout the for me to answer anything like that. Anything if you'd like me to run through with you, can try to do so. Otherwise, you can always try to get a hold of us at support.ledger.com. I think I've mentioned it way too many times on this stream, to be honest, but then we can, get your email, try to answer your question, and go from there. I can always send you through. We can always have a look at, if there's any, what is the word, ongoing issues when you get it, open a ticket with us, and try to help you fix that or go from there. Always going to be trying to reach out to you guys as much as we can. So we're always going to have to try and have live streams. I know that there's a couple that my colleagues will do on other days as well. Tech fast. Okay. Yeah. No worries, Tech. No need to say sorry. But yeah. Yeah, I can imagine they would definitely be fairly quick as well. I don't know. We're getting into like personal preference and like personal opinion now. I definitely prefer to use like layer 2s, being that they have a lot of liquidity to use with other EVM chains as well. Might get you onto bridging assets between chains. It starts to get really fun as well, but also can be quite risky if you're not sure what transactions you're signing. You might be signing some random transactions as well. But yeah, that's my personal opinion, though. I like to use them on these kinds of L2 EVM chains. Melonda, clarification. My account for my Uphold XDC was created in Ethereum. My account for my Uphold XDC was created in Ethereum. Like you stated earlier, on my Uphold, my destination of Ethereum isn't available, but it wants me to use XDC network. Okay, so if it wants to use XDC network, you would let me just pop this through. Where is it here? You would just want to get the address as an XDC net, like your XDC address. You replace the 0x that you get in MetaMask with XDC, and when you input that address into the withdrawal, it should be a valid address, and you just need to manage that asset if it's only on the XDC network as through MetaMask or some EVM wallet on the XDC network in particular. I'm not sure if I messed up the explanation there or anything like that, but that would be what I would suggest. Generally speaking, is like, okay, if you want to send it, if Uphold only supports it on XDC, then you would want to provide an XDC address, which you can still get by making sure you get that Ethereum address, right? You said that you had an Ethereum address. I would maybe want to check that you've gone through this process to add that address. Maybe that'll make it easier to go through, but essentially the EVM address will be the same one. You just need to press the 0x with XDC. And then you should be good to go from there. You'll be able to manage those XDC assets from there. Hopefully but let me know if I didn't mention that correctly, or like if I didn't explain that very well. Daily dose of craziness. Is the pay good at Ledger? I don't know that I want to comment or should comment about that at all. Sorry. It's a bit of it's not an intense question, but it's probably not a question that's appropriate for this setting. Deepak, you got a question here about your device. You purchased the device what seems like fairly recently, and you're attempting to request a return for replacement, but it's not available on the list of countries for replacement. Just get a hold of us, support.ledger.com. We can see what we can try to do for you there. Right here, so you've got support.ledger.com. You'll get to us page like this. You can click contact us, and then you can go through and try to get a hold of us as well. And then that way we can try to help you with that. And I love you guys, Tech. This is why we do the this is why we do the lives. This is why we try to answer the questions as well, because it's, you guys are dealing with money and it can be quite stressful if something doesn't go to plan and things like that. So you can send XDC NW. I'm assuming now from XDC network to Ledger Ethereum account, right? It's not really what I meant, so I definitely didn't explain it correctly. What you're doing is that because you have, let's say, an address that's like 0xabc123.123, that address is an EVM address. Now, the way that XDC works is instead of 0x, they use the addresses as XDC, but everything after the XDC or the 0x is the same. So if you're going to be sending on the XDC network, you're going to need to provide an XDC address. You would want to provide the XDC address, which would start with XDC. The way that you would see the addresses in MetaMask would be with a 0x prefix, right? And so when you get that address, let's say you copy and paste it from your MetaMask, all you need to do is just change that to XDC, and then you can put that into the withdrawal address for Uphold, and you should be able to receive those assets from there. You're not like sending it to different networks at all. You're actually just getting the same address. You're actually getting the same address for each, but you're just changing that prefix to be able to have Uphold accept the right address as well. I think one thing to mention then, if let's say you're using MetaMask, you can use, I think mine, my MEW, like my Ethereum, my Ether wallet rather, to be able to manage XDC as well, if I remember correctly. Not MetaMask, not this one, sorry. Here we go. You would also want to make sure, remember, to add the specific network. The steps are here as well. It's a MetaMask support page, but you would want to make sure to add the correct network, which is the XDC network, to be able to make sure you're on the right network when you receive those assets. You just see the 0x address as opposed to XDC. Hopefully I haven't beaten the dead horse yet. Expert design. What happens with Polkadot in Ledger Live staking showing it's showing some error that you have no nominations? I'm assuming then you would have checked on Subscan already for what's happening on chain. You should still be using should still be receiving rewards, but if I remember correctly, it is a visual bug that is it is not showing. So make sure to double check that as well. Now I actually can double check that here. I think it is still ongoing. Boom. I might get back to you on that one, Expert Design, but if I remember correctly, because I did speak with someone about it, that it is actually a only a visual bug. You should still be receiving rewards, and your assets are still definitely safe, so shouldn't be an issue there. Melonda, so I have to use MetaMask. Ledger doesn't support it. For XDC, yes, you wouldn't want to use some. You can use MetaMask, MyEther wallet, or some EVM style wallet. You should be able to use any of those as well. I don't think there is another wallet. Right off the top of my head, no. You would just be using a third-party wallet with the Ethereum app to be able to manage XDC. And that's nearly the end of the stream, guys. I don't know if you guys have any more questions. It's went by really quickly this time. If there's anything else, I might just as well put out a last call for today. And yeah, if you have any more questions, please pop in the chat and we'll try to get through them before finishing up for the day. Jose, you've asked if I'm holding HBAR on Ledger. So again, not on the Ledger device. Remember, the assets are on chain. But if you're holding HBAR, do you need to hold some ETH? Not if it's on HBAR. You don't need to hold ETH or anything like that. HBAR is a completely separate chain to Ethereum. So it wouldn't have anything to do with ETH at all. Wouldn't need to hold it. Although even I would be very biased to say I think it would be better. But, that's a personal opinion. I'm just throwing out hot takes right now. Thank you again, Melonda, for the... it's probably not that hot of a take. Thank you again, Melonda, for the questions as well. Always love to help. Shatrice, does the Ledger Stacks only hold crypto assets, or does the device stake with the features connected to the Ledger Nano X or Ledger Nano S? I'm just going to... does the Ledger Stacks only hold cryptocurrency? It does only hold... it only holds cryptocurrency, right? It doesn't hold any other type of asset. Maybe you can use it for like SSH, and you can use it for PGP and as a security key. Does the device stake? All of the devices still sign transactions that would allow you to stake. So it's not like the devices themselves are staking and doing staking things or anything like that. But the transactions that you can sign can definitely be signed on Stacks, on the Ledger Nano S, S+, Nano X, for sure. Does the device stake along with the features connected to Ledger Nano X and Ledger Nano S? The feature sets would be the same, if not more, of course, than those devices. So you can stake. If I pop back over, I was going to pop back over to the Ledger Live, but I wouldn't have anything added. But you can stake, you can send, you can receive, or get the receiving address that you want, and things like that. So all of those features, all of those things that you can do would still be the same. So no worries about that at all. Now this time you can start to get some cooler features for sending things in person. You might have a QR code to receive your assets to, so you can show that to someone when you're wanting to give them your address. If your ENS domain isn't good enough, or you have some kind of Bitcoin address that you're using and then changing temporarily. All kinds of things it starts to open up for. I think a lot of people internally have been using, have been thinking about, how you can use it to show NFTs, for example, things like that. But there are definitely utilities to it as well. So that's just about it for today. We do have streams. I think one of my colleagues is doing one on YouTube on Friday as well. So if you have any questions, you can tune in tomorrow. Throughout the whole of the week, we normally try to reach out to you as much as we can. Again, if you are asked to give your recovery phrase to anyone, do not do that. And please make sure you don't sign any weird or random transactions that you don't trust. Make sure you double check everything and always check on the screen of the device what you're signing. Clear signing is best signing, because then you know exactly what it is that you're doing. That about wraps it up for today. Yeah, give us a shout out if you need any help. Support.ledger.com, and pop in your email, and we'll try to have a chat with you from there. Thanks again, guys. Have a good rest of the week. Stay safe in the markets out there, guys. Thanks.